The last thing I expected in a 2024 Pokemon Presents announcement was for Game Freak to tell us that the next Pokemon game would not be a Gen 5 remake, but instead a Pokemon Legends game taking place in Generation 6 Pokemon region of Kalos. So with Pokemon Legends ZA being officially announced alongside a small teaser surrounding Mega Evolution, I figured it'd be cool to adventure all the way back to a game invented 10 plus years ago and see the really cool method speedrunners use to obtain every single Mega Stone in Pokemon X and Y as fast as possible. To understand the full picture of a Pokemon XY Megastone speedrun, we first need to begin by explaining the requirements around each of these Megastones. Unfortunately for speedrunners, we need to actually end this journey by beating the entire game for a majority of those Megastones. And it's all due to certain Megastones not being available until you upgrade your Mega Bracelet in the post-game. But there are at least a select few Megastones that speedrunners can and will be grabbing while completing the story, which will start this entire Megastone journey off by trying to meet up with and beat the professor as fast as possible. Standing in the way of making it that far is a battle against one of your annoying rivals, a couple of trainers that aren't really worth mentioning, and finally beating the first gym leader. And because of the order in which a lot of these gym leaders are presented to you throughout the game, speedrunners will need to swap between a total of 6 different Pokemon. If you want the full details on this process, I recommend checking out my XY speedrun video at the end of this one. But to put it short and simply, speedrunners will start the speedrun by setting their 3DS to a certain time and date for reasons that I'll go over as we reach them. We'll then move past the intro, grab ourselves chest spin so that our rival does not get an annoying bulky grass type, catch a Bunnelby on Route 2, clear out the forest, and then trade that Bunnelby for a Farfetch, which we'll be using throughout a lot of these battles. While Farfetch might seem like a really weird Pokemon, it actually clears out Viola's gym faster than any other available Pokemon can at this point. Not only this, but it's actually one of the few Pokemon you can receive this early on that'll be able to learn and use the move Swords Dance. So let me back up a little bit. Once we've beaten the first gym, we're going to be heading straight into Lumio City in order to skate into Professor Sycamore's lab, beat up all of his Cantonian starters, then finally get access to either a Mega Blastoiseite, Charizardite, or Venusaurite, depending on which Kanto starter you keep. With one Megastone in hand, speedrunners will then head into a Pokemon Center to deposit Chespin and Squirtle, buy the TM for Swords Dance extremely early on, then proceed into what I call Boring Land. Boring Land is filled with almost no battles, lots of dialogue, and some lovely fireworks in the daytime. All you really need to know about Boring Land in the context of a speedrun is that there are these important items called Sweethearts that you can get in your game on February 14th that help raise friendship that'll come up a bit later on. But for now, the next relevant section comes up after a tough rival double battle, since that'll be the spot where the next Megastone that we can receive is located. We'll first need to enter a Pokemon Center inside of Amber Town, where you'll quickly learn that a certain NPC needs rescuing inside of Glittering Cave to the right of the city, which forces us on the back of a really slow Rhyhorn. You believe they race these things? Slow rides aside, the evil villains Team Flare are all over this cave and will be blocking your path to the scientist Fossil Man. Farfetch unfortunately does have a bit of a rough time here, but it's still pretty fast and consistent enough to clear the cave, save the fossil NPC, and finally access Aerodactylite for our efforts. However, grabbing this Megastone now would actually slow speedruns down a bit, since we'll need to access Glittering Cave once we've completed the post-game. Sounds weird, right? But this order of events makes a lot more sense when you see how speedrunners get out of Glittering Cave as fast as possible. What speedrunners want to avoid is having to walk all the way back through the route, and will instead die on purpose with a single Farfetch in our party to teleport all the way back to the Pokemon Center. This Pokemon Center in particular is decently far away from the fossil lab that we would have to go into, which would take a longer journey to get in and out of now without a bicycle, making it faster to just go along the way once we need to access Glittering Cave for another Megastone later on. Now, luckily for the next Megastone, it's actually a free gift for making it past the third gym leader, Corona. To get to and beat her optimally, speedrunners will need to upgrade their main Pokemon by catching a Hawlucha to clear out both Gym 2 and 3, since Farfetch can't really handle the Rock Gym on its own very well at all. In fact, the first thing we actually do upon battling the second gym leader is sacrifice our Farfetch in order to weaken the defense of the Rock type gym leader leader's lead Pokemon. One important thing to note about Hawlucha is we end up catching it in a luxury ball in order to boost all of the friendship points earned along the way. Things like overworld movement, massages, sweethearts, X items, level ups, and vitamins need a bit of a boost to earn enough friendship points for later on. As an added bonus, Hawlucha learns the oh so useful Sword Sand CM we bought earlier, which gives it an easy path past Gym 2 and 3 before heading towards Shalor City's Mega Evolution Tower, where one more battle against the fighting gym leader Corona gets us a free Lucario main to swap to later on, a Mega Ring, and one more delicious Mega Stone just for Lucario. The final Mega Stone before the post-game Mega Stones appear to us after another 3 glaringly long gym battles. The first battle will be against the grass gym leader Ramos, who's cleared quite easily with Hawlucha's super effective air moves. But in letting Hawlucha earn all the experience from gyms 2, 3, and 4, as well as using the items I mentioned earlier on Hawlucha, speedrunners will take a small detour backwards towards Comarine City for a chance at a Lucky Egg. The power a Lucky Egg brings to a speedrun is unreasonably amazing, with the extra EXP that you get in every battle the earlier that you can equip it, which makes it worth attempting to reach the nearly max friendship requirement to try and get it. And quite conveniently, this detour also gives us a prime opportunity to grab yet another Mega Stone before the post game. All we have to do is get out of the Lucky Egg building, bike to the left of Comarine, avoid every single trainer up this surfing route, then talk to a random old dude for access to Ampharos before flying off, which brings us past the power plant to Lumio City, right through the 5th gym, and finally another rival fight on Route 14, which is exactly where speedrunners will find the best solution for receiving the next Megastone. Right at the end of this nasty swamp route, a certain Hex Maniac can be battled who happens to have a Haunter on our team. While battling does take a little bit of time to do, encountering a wild Haunter is extremely unreliable and just not really worth doing compared to going out of your way to fight this extra battle. We'll then find ourselves straight into the next town, where a casual player of these games could go and grab the stone now with zero issues, but waiting until after the gym leader is beaten is a bit more optimal since it's closer to the mandatory visit we'll be taking to the Pokemon factory after the gym, making it the fastest way to earn a Gengarite. The rest of the Mega Stones, as I mentioned earlier, will be saved for the post game. This is either because it's faster to wait and grab the stones later, or because they're locked behind the nasty Mega Bracelet upgrade requirements. And since the focus of this video is only really towards the Mega Stone speedrun, I'll again recommend my XY speedrun video after this one if you'd like to learn how Lucario takes on everything from the 6th gym to the champion. So starting after the credits, speedrunners will now find themselves back at home, where our mom will tell us to go see the professor in Lumio City. Then once we walk outside, our rival Shauna will very desperately want to give us a Froakie Egg, which we end up declining and fly away from her, leaving her stranded in front of our house forever. Now, the unfortunate reality of grabbing the rest of the Mega Stones is that a lot of the destinations that we need to go to will not even be remotely close to one another. And because it takes around 20 entire seconds to fly off from one location to another, speedrunners will need to minimize the amount of times that they fly. Which brings us to the first flight in Lumio City in order to talk to the professor to get a train pass to the Battle Maison. We'll then need to win at least one battle inside of the Maison to get the first post-game Megastone. But the funny thing is about this battle is that most of the folks who've done a speedrun of this have actually struggled to one-shot the wimpiest of first stage Pokemon that show up with a busted overleveled Lucario. With Lucario fearing for its life after a single battle, we can now quit out of the Maison, earn an amazing 1, then battle it out with Callum on the north side of the Maison. Callum himself is packing some pretty tough Pokemon, including a Mega Absol, which will be the next stone that we grab on our journey to grab them all. The next Mega Stones that speedrunners want to grab will also be located at Lumio City, but since we need to fly anyways to get back to the city, it ends up being better to take the detour to Anastar City towards a really big fancy crystal in order to talk to the professor to upgrade the Mega Ring and earn the rest of the Mega Stone. From this point forward, it'll only take a total of 20 entire minutes for speedrunners to earn the rest of the Mega Stone, which lands us back inside of Lumio City, where speedrunners completely ignore the Looker mission and will instead enter a cafe to trade a random Pokemon over to Diantha for a Ralts, which earns us a free Gardevoir. Then with another small detour inside of Lumio City, speedrunners will then go inside of a store that sells fire, water, and grass stone. By then buying 25 of these stones stones in a row, one at a time, the old man on the left side of the room will lower the price of the 2 Cantonian megastones that you don't have down from 1 million Poké Dollars to 150,000 each, which makes it barely affordable for speedrunners. Crazy how things line up. But now with this being the last stone inside of Lumio City, speedrunners will then fly off to Snowbell City, head down through the forest, then surf up the left side of Pokemon Village into a cave to catch Mewtwo. This will either give you Mewtwoite X or Y depending on the game that we're playing. From here, the 3DS clock will need to be changed to the 20th hour before flying to the rest of the Megastones, since some of these stones spawn at a certain hour. The first stone on this 20th hour journey will be near Shalor City inside of Glittering Cave. Blocking our path will be an extremely underleveled Ace Trainer at level 26, who actually beats us. Not actually. Can you imagine Lucario at level 76 losing to this dude? Either way, thank Arceus for this beautiful lucky egg, because nothing can stand in our way as we go super far downstairs in the cave where Alakazam will be waiting for us. Now, unfortunately for this next Megastone, speedrunners will have to take an L on extra flights to Snowbell City, since the first Megastone will be located to the left of Victory Road. And excitingly, we get to fight yet another underlevel trainer blocking our path to a hidden cave below a waterfall for Banetite. Speedrunners will then head outside of this cave, go all the way back up the waterfall to access Victory Road in order to reach the area where a battle against your rival Callum took place. It's a really neat location too that has you randomly rock smashing a stone slab, which is really weird, but it gets us access to Garchompite. I have to say, I think this right here is probably my favorite Megastone, because it really reminds me of the Sevi Islands, where you use cut on a metal door in Fire Red Leaf Green you've already gotten used to cutting down trees with. Now, before I get too far and gushing about these cool little mechanics, we'll need to fly all the way to Korriway Town, then head south and to the right, which grants us access to Gyarados by talking to a waterfall. Then, as we mentioned way back early in the video, through pure optimization, the next 2 Megastones in a row will be in Amber Town, which means we can now bike into the fossil lab for Aerodactylites, then head straight into the Glittering Cave for a super accessible Kangaskhanite. Now, if I had to give a top 10 ranking on how speedrunners are routing these things all together, I think first place would actually be our trip into Dendemil Town, where speedrunners will be grabbing 3 Megastones in a row. The first and second Megastones will be above Dendemil Town inside of Frost Cavern, where speedrunners will perform the most gamer movement ever in the version exclusive Scizor or Heracrossite before escape roping out. Then, surprisingly enough, biking all the way back to Dendemil Town is a little bit faster than flying, and with a really quick detour, we can grab a Manectite on the route to the left. For the final 4 flights, speedrunners head to Camfrey Town for Mawilite, a trip to Laveri Town for Metachamite, Aquacord for Pincerite, and finally end it all in Solage City for Tyranitarite inside of the gym. Tyranitarite makes the most sense to get last, since we can't exactly escape rope out of the gym and would have to climb all the way back down if we wanted to get in and out, which earns speedrunners all of the Pokemon X and Y Megastones that are not part of an event that require online features. Now, I know some people might complain in the comments that this isn't all the Megastones, but adding some of these limited time events to a Pokemon speedrun would just give someone an unfair advantage based off of the time that they played the game, especially considering that 3DS games won't have online features for very long. It's a truly sad reality. But as of this video, speedrunners can at least get all the Megastones from the start of the game to the post game in a total of 4 hours and 26 minutes. Consider subscribing, and thanks for watching.